Goals are temporary, identity is permanent. Most people spend their entire lives chasing outcomes, a promotion, a number on a scale, a finish line, and when they reach it, they feel empty. Because the goal was never the point. Think about the last time you achieved something you wanted. Maybe it was a milestone at work. Maybe it was a physical transformation. Maybe it was a financial target. You felt good for a moment, maybe a day, maybe a week. But then what happened? The feeling faded, and you were back to where you started, looking for the next thing to chase. This is the cycle most people live in. Achievement, brief satisfaction, emptiness, repeat. They never stop to ask why. They never question the system. They just keep running. The point was who you had to become to get there. But most people never ask that question. They are so focused on the destination that they ignore the transformation required to get there. They see the end result, but they do not see the person who achieved it. And this is the trap. They chase the result without considering the cost to their character. They want the outcome without the transformation. They want the body without becoming disciplined. They want the wealth without becoming patient. They want the respect without becoming respectable. They want the destination without the journey. And that is a fundamental misunderstanding of how life works. Because results are downstream from identity. What you achieve is a reflection of who you are. And if you try to force a result that does not match your identity, it will not last. It cannot last. And that is why they cannot sustain it. Because sustainability is not about effort, it is about alignment. When your results match your identity, they are effortless to maintain. When they do not, they are impossible to sustain. This is the fundamental truth most people miss. They think success is about doing more, working harder, pushing further, but that is only half the equation. The other half is becoming more, being different, evolving into someone for whom success is natural. Discipline is not about hitting targets. It is not about checking boxes. It is not about forcing yourself to do things you hate. That is not discipline. That is suffering. True discipline is different. It is about becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to force themselves. It is about identity. It is about character. It is about building a version of yourself that is capable of sustaining what you achieve. Success without character is borrowed time. You can force results through willpower. You can grind your way to a goal, but if you have not changed who you are, you will lose it, because your identity will pull you back to where you belong. This is why lottery winners go broke. This is why people regain the weight they lost. This is why promotions do not change how people feel about themselves. The external changed, but the internal did not, and the internal always wins. Your identity is like gravity. It pulls you back to your baseline, and no amount of willpower can fight gravity forever. You have to change the baseline. You have to become someone different. And that requires more than motivation, more than inspiration, more than a good day or a good week. It requires a fundamental shift in how you see yourself, in what you believe you are capable of, in what you consider normal. Because normal is powerful. Normal is your default, and your default will always win in the long run. Every action you take is a vote for the person you are becoming. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity, and your identity is built through repetition, through the small, quiet choices no one sees. Every time you do something, you are casting a vote for the type of person you believe you are. You wake up early. That is a vote for being disciplined. You skip the workout. That is a vote for being undisciplined. You keep your word. That is a vote for being reliable. You break a promise. That is a vote for being unreliable. And these votes accumulate. They compound. They shape your self-image, and your self-image determines your behavior. This is the loop. Your actions shape your identity. Your identity shapes your actions. And most people are stuck in a loop they do not even realize they are in. The disciplined do not focus on outcomes. They do not obsess over results. They do not measure their worth by their achievements, because they understand something most people do not. Outcomes are lagging indicators. They tell you who you were, not who you are becoming. They focus on becoming. They understand that the person they are building will determine every result they ever achieve. They know that who you are is more powerful than what you want. Most people ask, what do I need to do to get what I want? The disciplined ask, who do I need to become? That is the difference. One is transactional, the other is transformational. One is about the outcome, the other is about the process. One is temporary, the other is permanent. When you focus on becoming, the doing takes care of itself, because the right actions flow naturally from the right identity. You do not have to force yourself to do what disciplined people do when you are a disciplined person. It is just who you are. This is the difference between forcing and flowing, between grinding and growing, between suffering through discipline and embodying it. When discipline is external, it is exhausting. When it is internal, it is effortless. And that shift changes everything, because identity determines sustainability. This is the law, this is the rule, this is the principle that governs everything. You cannot outperform your identity, not for long. You can achieve a result that does not match who you are, but you cannot keep it. Your habits will betray you, your defaults will pull you back, you will self-sabotage in ways you do not even recognize. This is the invisible force that ruins most success stories. People achieve something beyond their identity, and then they unconsciously destroy it. They find ways to fail, they make bad decisions, they revert to old patterns, not because they are weak, but because they are out of alignment. Your identity is your thermostat, and when the temperature gets too far from the setting, the system corrects itself. You can push the temperature up temporarily, but unless you change the thermostat, it will always pull you back. But when you become the person first, the results are inevitable. And more importantly, they last. Because they are not something you are chasing. They are something you are. This is the secret. This is what separates those who sustain success from those who lose it. The ones who keep it are not more talented. They are not luckier. They are not working harder. They have simply become the type of person for whom that level of success is normal. And when something is normal for you, you do not have to fight to maintain it. It is just your baseline. It is just who you are. This is why discipline is not about goals. It is about architecture. You are building a structure, a foundation, a version of yourself that can handle more responsibility, more freedom, more opportunity, more pressure. The undisciplined collapse under weight. The disciplined expand under it, not because they are stronger, but because they have built themselves to carry it. Think of it like building a house. You can build a beautiful house on a weak foundation. It will look good for a while, but when the storm comes, it will fall, because the foundation was not built to handle the pressure. Most people are building their lives on weak foundations. They are focused on the exterior, the appearance, the results, but they are not doing the foundational work. And when life applies pressure, they crumble. The disciplined build differently. They start with the foundation. They do the work no one sees. They build the structure that can support the life they want to live. And when the pressure comes, they do not break. They grow. And that takes time. It takes patience. It takes the willingness to do things that do not feel significant in the moment, to show up when no one is watching, to choose the harder path when the easier one is available, to delay gratification not because you have to, but because you are becoming someone who does not need it. This is where most people fail, not because they cannot do the work, but because they cannot wait for the work to pay off. They want immediate results. They want instant transformation. They want to see progress every day. But identity does not work that way. Identity is built slowly, through repetition, through consistency, through showing up even when you do not feel like it, even when no one is watching, even when there is no immediate reward. You are not building a sprint, you are building a marathon. And marathons are not won in the first mile. They are won in the preparation, in the training, in the thousands of hours no one sees. This is the long game. This is the real work, not the highlight reel, not the transformation post, the thousands of small decisions that no one will ever applaud, the quiet discipline that builds a person capable of sustaining success. Because success is not the hard part. Becoming someone who can keep it is. Anyone can have a good day. Anyone can have a good week. Anyone can push hard for a short period of time and see results. But very few can sustain it. Very few can maintain it. Very few can keep showing up year after year after year. And the reason is simple. They never became the person. They just performed the actions. And actions without identity are exhausting. They require constant willpower, constant motivation, constant effort, and eventually you run out. But when you are the person, the actions are effortless. They are just what you do, because they are who you are. You can chase goals your entire life, and you will achieve some of them. But if you do not become someone different in the process, you will end up right back where you started. Older, more tired, more cynical, wondering why nothing ever sticks. Or you can choose to build, to become, to focus on identity over outcomes, to let discipline shape your character, to trust that the person you are becoming is more valuable than any single result you could achieve. This is the choice, and it is a choice you make every single day, with every action, with every decision, with every moment of discipline or lack thereof. You are either building the person you want to become, or you are reinforcing the person you have always been. There is no neutral. Every action is a vote, and the votes are always being counted. Because the future you want is not waiting for you to find it. It is waiting for you to become the person capable of creating it. And that person is built in the quiet, in the discipline, in the daily choice to become instead of just achieve. Not in the moments of inspiration, not in the moments of motivation, but in the ordinary moments, the boring moments, the moments when no one is watching and nothing feels significant. That is where identity is forged, in the repetition, in the consistency, in the refusal to quit when it gets hard, in the commitment to show up even when you do not want to. This is the work. This is the path. This is how you become someone different. The question is not what you want. Everyone wants something. Everyone has desires. Everyone has dreams. But wanting is not enough. Wishing is not enough. Hoping is not enough. The question is who you are willing to become to have it. And that is a much harder question because it requires honesty. It requires self-awareness. It requires the willingness to look at yourself and admit that you are not yet the person who deserves what you want. And that is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Because growth requires discomfort, transformation requires pain, becoming requires letting go of who you were. And most people are not willing to do that. They want to change without changing. They want to transform without transforming. They want to become someone new while staying exactly the same. And that is impossible. The old you and the new you cannot coexist. One must die for the other to live, and that death is painful. It is uncomfortable. It is scary, because you are letting go of the familiar, the comfortable, the known, and stepping into the unknown. But that is where growth happens. That is where transformation occurs. That is where you become someone different, not in the comfort zone, but in the discomfort, in the uncertainty, in the fear. You cannot become a new person by doing the same things. You cannot build a new identity by repeating the same patterns. You cannot create a different future by living the same life. Something has to change, and that something is you. Not your circumstances, not your environment, not your opportunities, you, your habits, your choices, your standards, your beliefs about who you are and what you are capable of. That is the work, that is the transformation, that is the becoming. And it is not easy, it is not comfortable, it is not quick, but it is the only way. Because there are no shortcuts to becoming. There are no hacks. There are no secrets. There is only the work. The daily, unglamorous, repetitive work of showing up and choosing to be different. And most people are not willing to do that work. They want the result without the process. They want the transformation without the discomfort. They want to become someone new without letting go of who they are. But that is not how it works. That has never been how it works. And it will never be how it works. Because the person you are today is the result of every choice you have made up until this moment. And the person you will become tomorrow is the result of every choice you make from this moment forward. So choose carefully, choose intentionally, Choose with the understanding that every action is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every morning you wake up, you are voting. Every time you make a decision, you are voting. Every time you choose the hard path over the easy one, you are voting. And those votes add up. They compound, they create momentum. And momentum is powerful. It can work for you or against you. It can build you up or tear you down. It can move you toward the person you want to become or pull you back to the person you have always been. The choice is yours, every single day, every single moment, every single action. You are either moving forward or moving backward. There is no standing still. There is no neutral. You are either building or destroying, growing or shrinking, becoming or regressing. And the beautiful thing is that you get to choose. You have agency. You have control, not over your circumstances, not over what happens to you, but over how you respond, over who you become, over the person you are building. That is your power. That is your responsibility. That is your opportunity. And that question will determine everything.